So, what on earth are the inner development goals? Because I know a lot of people, when I was looking this up, people were like, "Well, they're just the sustainability goal." No, they're different. They are different. They have to do with that, but it is a different thing. So they're, yeah, no. Agenda 21 eventually became Agenda 2030 at the 2015 UN Sustainable Development Summit in New York. And that is when the first 17 goals were codified for action and implementation. We've seen how these goals have been driving forces in the area of healthcare, ESG, social justice, education, etc., etc. Companies, corporations, schools, and governments have been conforming to meet these goals, but that was only one phase for implementation. So we've seen this before. We've seen the ESG stuff. We've seen the DEI stuff. We've seen how all these companies and whatnot, even though they're losing all this money, they continue to push out social justice and alphabet and climate and all these type of things. So they've got the corporations. They've got those. But that doesn't necessarily get to us. Now, they've been going after the schools. We understand that. But there's still an entire group of people like you and I who haven't been affected by the schooling. How are they going to get us? That is what they're trying to achieve. Eventually, they would need to conform, while societies on a personal level and inner level must go along with these goals. School indoctrination isn't enough. They need to get people like us, and they're doing it through the companies and corporations, not through the ESG like we've been seeing. No, they're doing it on the inside to their employees. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And I want you guys to say hello to the inner development goals.
The inner development goals show what inner shifts or human growth needs to happen in order for us to increase our chances of reaching the Sustainable Development Goals collectively.
The Inner Development Goals covers 23 skills that are divided into 5 categories. Skills such as inner compass, openness and learning mindset, self-awareness, presence, sense-making, connectedness, humility, co-creation skills, trust, and perseverance.
We need to sort of focus more inwards, and what is my responsibility in that? What can I contribute to a development that is more sustainable? But in order to be able to reach those sustainability goals, we need to also be able to take the right decisions to get there.
And I think where we are today, perhaps, is we've hit a limit to purely technocratic external solutions to solve global problems. Mental health and well-being is supported by our inner capacities for spirituality and faith, where education is fundamentally oriented towards meaning and purpose in a changing world, rather than mere content delivery for students.
Teaching a course like Global Challenges at Stockholm School of Economics, I realize more and more that we cannot reach the sustainability goals if we do not work with our inner development. This does not apply only to universities. This applies to all sectors, all ages.
What we really need is a deliberately developmental society. And depending on how severe you think the situation is, maybe we need a deliberately developmental world. And right now, we're not even talking about at scale the inner dimensions and how we need to change. Because at the core, we are the problem. The way that we're acting in the world and the way that we are solving problems is the problem.
I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address those problems. But I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation.
We bring now the inner development goals with us as a great source of inspiration when we strengthen and revise our competence development roadmaps and make sure that the inner development goals are integrated into this.
To make the world work better requires highly specialized skills, very useful, but quite high-level skills. And so what we want to say to people is, yes, it's great that you want to help make the world work better, but you have to get into training.
All right. So, yeah, there's a few things I'm sure you guys could point out from that. First of all, they're talking about inner development. They're talking about from a religious, a spiritual level. So we've been going all over that on the End Times New Age. So we're not going to necessarily, we'll touch on that a little bit, but we're not going to necessarily dive deep into that because that's a whole nother thing. But you see, there is that spiritual factor. Like I was talking about before, you look at mystery of religion, you look at Revelation 17, it is a huge component to bringing all of this stuff together is that spiritual level stuff, is the mystery religion. So you see that element there. They're talking about training. This is what the inner development goals are about. It's about training us, and they're going to go through corporations on all this stuff. That's what we're going to talk about today. And there's some other stuff on there that I'm sure you guys can point out. They talked about how we are the problem and stuff like that. You're seeing that teaching of the Club of Rome where they created us, the enemy, coming through on this. It's all there. So if you guys want to kind of go through and see all that stuff, check out the rewind on that. So IDG, which is inner development goals, it's just shorter than saying that all the time. So the IDGs was created in 2019 with a working partnership between the United Nations, corporations, and schools, specifically colleges. It was designed by globalists and elites from the New Division, 29K, and Excurate, which I always think that's funny because to me it sounds like excrement, which really is what all this is. Anyways, you know what I mean. But Excurate. They assembled on Excurate Island in Stockholm to discuss how to transform individuals to not only go along with the SDGs, but to believe in them from thought to action to spirituality. All three founding groups are heavy hitters of advancing the SDGs and are partnered with the UN, and all three are also based in Sweden. So let's have a quick look at these three groups just so we can have an understanding of who all is behind this and where they come from. So first up is Excurate here. I'm going to have to really tell myself to not say excrement. I'm sorry. Excurate. Let's just go with that. Stay on focus, Zach. Here we go. It says, it might be a little small. I'll read it for you guys. It says the mission of the Excurate Foundation is both to make sense of the world we create and allow brave spaces for people to explore and work on their inner growth. Studies shows that having a safe place, I hate that phrase. Having a safe place in connection to nature where we dare to challenge ourselves can act as important catalysts for the process for personal development. We supports and contributes to these brave places by creating contexts and locations for transformative learning where skills can be developed to better handle the rapid change and the constantly increasing complexity of our world, skills that increase our capacity for deeper understanding and wisdom, which then engages individuals to become active. And if you guys have been watching my End Times New Age series, this is a red flag word: active co-creators in the world we create. There's your spiritual spot right there. But basically, it's all about inner development, becoming one with nature. This is that positivity, this new age, new thought process. That's what this group is all about. Let's go check out New Division. Let's check out New Division because they call themselves agents of sustainability. Oh, isn't that wonderful? The New Division, Agents of Sustainability. In 2015, we created, that's right, this is what this group does. This is about the communication level of getting these SDGs online. So these guys are important. It says in 2015, we, the New Division, created the communication language up for the UN Sustainable Development Goals. 2 years later, we translated the 169 targets, the driving force of the agenda. I love how they call it an agenda too, into a comprehensive communication system. In reality, we turned sustainability into a periodic table. These guys are bad news, but very important to all of this. Today, we are a growing consultancy. By combining our deep knowledge of sustainability, communication, and design skills with business strategy and active initiatives, we are accelerating the transformation to a sustainable future. All right. So we've got a new age philosophy type group where you look inner self and pull the best you out. Just got to go with the Joel Osteen, live your best life now. And then we've got New Division, who was working with the UN and basically created the talking points, the communication level of these sustainable development goals. Now, who's 29K? This is the third group that helped found this thing. Who's this? Your Inner Development App and Supportive Community. They created an app about how to fix anxiety and how to improve your motivation, and it's the mind over matter type of group. And again, that comes straight from the new age, new thought type of stuff. But basically 29K is a nonprofit organization and community on a mission to make personal growth available for everyone for free. Now, we're not going to read all of that, but I want to look at the box. It says why we do it. For the greater good. Man, whenever you hear that, the first thing that pops into my head is cult. The second thing that it pops into my head is communism. For the greater good. We need to strengthen people and people's ability to create healthy environments around themselves for others. Or basically, let me translate this for what they actually mean. You need to have better positive energy and heart rhythm, better vibes for the nature and people around you. That's what that actually means. There's more new age involved with that. We think that's probably one of the most important things to do globally today, and we believe that it's through inner sustainability and inner growth that we can navigate and build a more sustainable society. So just a little thing. The reason why Excret and 29K sound so familiar is they were both founded by the same guy. So that's also something to keep in mind. So their focus is to use schools and corporations to feed these inner development indoctrination points into their students and workers, into their employees, in order to get people to follow along with the SDGs. So this entire thing is about creating a system to get to the older crowd, because they're already getting this involved with the schools for the younger crowd, the SEL curriculum and all that stuff. So they're trying to get it to us through corporations to get people to follow along with the SDGs. We can see this in a video conference. I got a little video here from one of their conferences about this strategy being played out about getting this into companies. Now, this is about a 2-minute video. It's a couple of videos that are put together, but seriously, listen to this because you can see who's on board and how they're doing this. This is important. Check this out.
Our theory of change has been that who has the resources to do this, to really not just train like a top leadership of leaders who can do this work, but to see that everybody has to do this work. Our thinking, who has the resources to do this, not just for the top leadership, but for everybody. And we say, of course, it's countries, and we want to work with countries, and it's organizations. So we have teamed up with some of the most progressive companies in the world, and you recognize many of these companies: IKEA, Spotify, Ericsson, Google, and so on. And they have said that we will support this initiative with sponsoring it, but we will also train all our employees in this. And of course, a big company like IKEA, have 150,000 employees, is a huge impact. And then some companies had also said that we will not just support this and train our employees, but we will also work to spread this in society. And I could give you lots of examples of this, but then I would have to kill you. And since I was, in an accident last week, I don't want to do that. So we're now talking to Apple, who said, we would like to have this in every iPhone. It will take us 1 or 2 years to work the internal bureaucracy, but we will get there. Our thinking was that if we want to buy in from countries and companies that we really need to do this work, then it has to be firmly rooted in science. So we teamed up with a number of universities, first Swedish university, like Stockholm University, Stockholm School of Economics, and Lund University, and then also international, Harvard, Erasmus, Paris University, and now Danish Technical University.
So what they're talking about here, they gave some examples. You have all these huge companies coming on board, not only to partner with and support these inner development goals and the SDGs, but now they're coming out saying they're going to take this stuff and start force feeding it and training their employees to follow along with it. You see how they're trying to get this in? If you want to work for this company, if you want to have the job that we're going to offer you, which all these companies have hundreds of thousands of jobs. I mean, you look at they're talking about Apple, they're talking about Google and Ericsson and stuff. In order to work here, you're going to have to go through training. Basically, you're going to have to get indoctrinated with this stuff to make sure that your values will go along with the SDGs and the IDGs. Then they talk about with Apple, where they're going to start putting it on everybody's iPhones. They're just going to put it in there. And we've seen some stuff over the past year, a couple of years, where they're Apple's just randomly putting stuff on their phone about SDGs and stuff like that. I'm sure some of you have heard about that just recently. All of a sudden they look on their phone and they've got an SDG app and stuff like that. But they're doing that as well. Then you can see at the end they're talking about the colleges that they're putting it into as well. So they're trying to get it into the higher learning, which colleges, there's no learning there, but that's what they're working on. They're trying to get this stuff into our group now. So by having these companies on board to brainwash employees, they push for the push for this extends beyond the children and into an older and broader group. And this is being done through the initiative of the P3, or also known as the Public-Private Partnership, which is a program which was done by the UN and the WEF. Let's see here. And it's being done through this. This is P3. This is your public-private partnership and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And it goes, in light of a cautious emphasis given to public-private partnerships, or P3, as a mechanism to finance infrastructure projects, and highlighting the need for capacity building and knowledge sharing at the Third International Conference on Financing for Development in Addis Ababa, which they're one of the groups that was involved with establishing these things for the UN. This paper reviews the extant literature on the subject and identifies areas requiring better understanding and institutional innovation for ensuring value for money, minimizing contingent fiscal risk, and improving accountability. So what they're talking about is what we've been seeing with the ESGs. If you want strong financing, if you want to be fiscally sound and be a part of this new development that we're putting in place, you're going to need to sign up and be a part of this corporatism. That's what it is. It's corporatism. Or you might know it as another word, an F word, which we'll get to in just a second. With these programs in effect, corporations like Spotify have started requiring training that assesses each employee's values. So if you want to work at Spotify, you have to be a part of this 3-hour training, which will assess if your values match up with the SDGs or not. I kid you not, they are rolling this out, and they will compare them to the SDGs and IDGs to see if they align. So if we take a look, here's just a quick snapshot from their 2022 Equity and Impact report from Spotify. This is directly from Spotify. And some of the things that they are training their employees in include climate action, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, mental health, civic and community engagement, responsible business and government, as well as reporting principles and data. And it just keeps going. Focus areas, talking about the climate action and on equity and all this stuff. It's absolutely insane, but this is a part of the IDGs because Spotify is partnered up with the IDGs, and they are partnered up utilizing the P3 program, which is designed by the UN and the WEF, and they are now putting this into action for anybody who wants to work at Spotify. And more and more and more companies are jumping on board with this. So this isn't just at ESG for companies to get money from investors like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. No, this is about now training good little worker soldiers, good little peasants that will go along with what they want. This creates a system that folds corporations into government. And that system is known as corporatism, or better yet, corporativism. And it's nothing new, and it's even been promoted by one of the greatest fascists. And when I say greatest fascist, I don't mean good guy. What I mean by he was one of the top dogs when it comes to fascism in history, and that would be none other than Benito Mussolini, who famously said fascism should be more appropriate, or should more appropriately be called corporatism, because it is a merger of state and corporate power. This, what they're doing with inner development, SDG, ESG, and the P3 is creating that. It's creating exactly that. Creating systems that monitor personal beliefs and values lead exactly to where you think it leads. We've been talking about it for a very long time. We kind of stopped talking about it because I don't know why. We just kind of have, and it's your social credit score.